What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I will show you how you can build an AI agent for your Notion database. And I think this build is actually very cool because most of the companies use Notion as their knowledge base. They have frequently asked questions there, internal docs and internal company information, and I see like a lot of ways where such agent could be very useful by retrieving information and sharing details with the company employees. But first, before we move further, let's check it out how the agent actually works. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna chat with the agent and I'm gonna ask, maybe do we have a campaign approval process? And what it's gonna do is gonna go inside the Notion database and it's gonna fetch the answer. So for example, yes, we have a campaign approval process. The process includes submitting draft to the client feedback, finalizing the campaign within 48 hours. And then it gives us the link to where we should go to find more information. So if we do that, we click on the link, it redirects us to the page. So imagine then you have the whole SOP here and your company employees or whatever, or you can reference everything and see all of the relevant information. And later on down the video, by the end of it, actually when we're gonna build everything out, I'm gonna show you how it actually retrieves the answer, but also goes then deeper inside the page and fetches all of the information that is inside, which in this case we have nothing, but we're going to show example where there is some information. Also, I got an idea for this video from an official n8n video where Max did a build with Notion. So yeah, check out an official n8n YouTube channel if you want to find more cool builds there. But in today's video, we're going to be building exactly this agent. The most important nodes are going to be this search Notion database node and then search inside the database record node. These two tools are going to do the heavy lifting, and of course the prompt inside the AI agent is also going to be quite important. So let's jump into the video and let's build it step by step. And if you ever want to work with me on any automations or you have any builds in mind, there's a link down in the description below through where you can reach out to me and ask any questions, or we can collaborate together on a project. So I'm gonna move this aside. I'm gonna need it, I know, to reference it from time to time. But this is essentially, I built like a mock knowledge base on my Notion. So as you can see, there are quite simple columns: question, answer, department, tags, last update, and created date. I will try to add this information in my description. Probably there's going to be a Gumroad link through where you can download, let's say, even this base and also the n8n blueprint, so you can upload it into your account and just spin it and give it a go. So yeah, this is quite simple. It can be a lot more advanced, but I did it this way. You can always adjust how you want. So the first thing that actually we will need to do in order to make this build possible is to set up a connection in n8n to Notion. So to do that, first of all, go into Notion and go into settings. Here, what you will have to do is go into connections. And as you can see over here, I already have like a make.com connection and an n8n connection, but let's build a new one from scratch. So for this, click on develop or manage integrations. We're going to be redirected to a new window, new integration. I'm going to associate my personal Notion workspace. In this case, associate whichever workspace you want. The type is internal because I'm the only one that's going to be using it. And if you're only using it within your company or team, you can also use internal. But if you want everyone to use it, then it's a different case. But I'm gonna save it. Oh yeah, I forgot the name. So n8n test connection, let's say, because I'm gonna be deleting this after this. Then configure integration settings. And now we're gonna have to click on the show the internal integration secret, copy it, and then go into n8n. So first of all, let's go into credentials. and add credential. Let's look for Notion and Notion API, continue, pasted the secret and click save. And if this appears, that means you established the connection correctly. So good job. And then the next thing we have to do is, maybe I'm gonna refresh it just so it appears. I'm gonna go here and you can see that I already have a connection with an old credential, but I'm gonna go to connect to, and I'm gonna use n8n, and you will see n8n test appears, which is a new one. So I'm gonna click on that, I'm gonna confirm, and we established a new connection in for n8n in our Notion database. So essentially right now you are ready to start building the agent. So let's go to the workflows and add workflow. So in this case, I'm gonna start off with a trigger, and the trigger is gonna be on message received. And that's gonna be pretty much it for the trigger. Then of course, we will need the Notion module, node. And for this, we're gonna have to select get the database. And for credentials, so in this case, I'm gonna select my old credential, but if you want, you can select the new one, or actually we'll have the only one. For the resource database, for the operation get, and now you're gonna have to select a database from the list. I have the only one assigned to this credential, so it's gonna be in the knowledge base. An important thing actually, when you are creating this credential, unselect the simplify, because for example, let's test it. And you will see that once you select simplify, the output is going to be only the ID, name of the base, and URL, which is, fine in some situations, but in this case, we need a lot more info, because we will need to retrieve the tags that are inside here. So for that, unselect simplify, test the step, and you will see that the output is much larger with much more information. Yeah, so that's good. So we essentially set that up. Now we need to set up like a node that's gonna format the output the way we want it. So later on, it would be easier for us to work with the agent. So for this, I'm gonna select the set node, and I'm gonna add it. And over here, I can even rename it. So let's say it's gonna be format output. So the same way I had it previously. And for manual mapping, what we're gonna need is we're gonna map the session ID of a chat message. We're gonna map the action, the chat input, the Notion ID. What else? The database name, and also the tag options. That's why we are creating this particular node. So for the name, let's say for the first one, it's going to be session ID. And if we go to the schema and we go to the when chat message received, okay, so we haven't sent actually any messages to the chat. So let's go back. Let's just write test. It ran. Let's go back here. Click on this and you can see session ID, action, and chat input appeared. So we're good to go. So for, again, session ID, let's select expression, and we're gonna add the session ID over here. And you will see later on while I'm doing this, because it's gonna be a lot easier to reference it. But for action, again, we're gonna drag the action. For chat input, we're gonna do the same. Chat input. Yep, chat input. Then what else we need? Oh, so we need a Notion ID. Notion ID. So this is gonna be this ID. So this is the ID of a database or a base. So this particular table in this case. So I'm gonna drag it here, and it's gonna just references JSON ID because this was the last node. Then the next one has to be database name. let me database name, and the value, where was it? So here under the title, text content, I add it. And the last thing is gonna be tags options. And this one is actually gonna be the trickiest, and I'm gonna show you why, but let's just find tags and options. So scroll until you find properties, then below that is gonna be tags, and then there's gonna be options. And what we're gonna need to do is drag it here. However, as you can see, it returns this quite a big of array with all of the information, but what we actually need, we just need the names itself. So for example, in this case, we would only need client communication. And for that, we're gonna run a map function. So this is essentially an array. So what we're gonna write is dot map, then enter brackets. Inside it, you can enter item, arrow function, item dot name, and then as you can see, now it creates an array that only contains the tags, but here we also want to turn it into a text string, so that's why we're going to write dot join, brackets again, and then separated by comma. And here we go, we have the whole text string that gets all of the tags correctly. So this is the function, the expression. But again, I'm gonna try to add a link down below where you can download the blueprint, and you're gonna have this inside it, so there shouldn't be any issues if you can't, or don't wanna follow it step by step. But now let's see if everything works. So I'm gonna click test step, and as you can see, everything was outputted correctly. So I have session ID, action, chat input, Notion ID, database name, and tags options, which are just comma separated values, which is exactly what we needed. So I'm gonna exit that out, and the next thing we need to build is the agent itself, and this is gonna be the tools agent. For the prompt, what we're going to use it take from the previous node automatically. So it's going to take from this particular node, the trigger. So we don't need to configure anything. But for the system message, we will enter our own prompt. And this one is actually quite long. So just give me a moment. I'm going to copy and paste it here. And let me expand it. So as you can see, this is the whole prompt. So again, there's going to be a link down in the description below where you can download it and just copy paste, but I'm going to scroll very slowly so you can stop at the certain points of the video and just read through if you want. But essentially it goes like so. So for example, there is row which says you're a helpful Notion database assistant, query the particular database, Notion database to find relevant records or summarize insights based on multiple records. After that, use search inside database record tool to find more relevant information. Behavior, and then I tell it how to respond, I talk about clarity and so on and so forth. But basically ChatGPT itself wrote this prompt because I instructed the way to write it, and it just did. So the only thing you will need to do is, for example, go in here if you were building it step by step. So there's like, though I don't think there's like parentheses, or what is this? Yeah, I'm not a native English speaker, but basically just drag the database name inside it, and it's gonna reference the database name from the format output node. So you will already can see why it's so convenient to use this particular node. Then we can technically exit it out, and then we need to assign all of the tools. So the first thing that we're gonna do is give the chat model. So for this, it's gonna be GPT-4o mini, and for credentials, yeah, I have this already set up. So I'm going to pull it to the side. For the memory, we're going to use window buffer memory. So I'm not going to be setting up like Postgres memory in this case, but I'm just trying to build it out quickly on a video. So I'm going to use window buffer memory in this case. So again, we can drag it out to the side. And now we need to build a search Notion database tool, which is essentially an HTTP request tool. So this is actually the fun part and probably the more complicated part when it comes to getting this to work. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename it. So I'm gonna search Notion database and rename it. In the description, again, I'm gonna copy paste from the previous build that I did, but you can read it through. So for example, you can see what it says, but the description says use this tool to search the JSON database name. So my particular Notion database. It is structured with question and answer format. So again, there's question, there's answer. And you can filter query results by keyword and filter by tag. And keyword and tag have an or relationship, not and. So I'm going to show you what this exactly means later on. But for mapping, we actually have to map again the database name. So let's use from the format output the database name. And I need to select expression first. So it's going to let me to drag it in, enter it here. So we'll see JSON database name. Then for the method, we'll need to select the post method. And for URL, I'm going to copy this. So this is from, post. So this is from Notion documentation, but basically the URL is https api.notion.com/v1/databases/ and this is where we enter the Notion base ID and /query. So let's change it to expression. It's automatically gonna recognize this expression, but I'm just gonna delete it, and I'm gonna go here again into format output, and I'm gonna just select Notion ID like so, and we have basically this ready. Then for the authentication, we're gonna select predefined credential type, and here all we need to select is Notion API, and we already have the connections established, so let's go select those. Yes, so essentially like the request authentication is set. Now we need to send a body, and for this also what we're going to be using is JSON, and I'm going to copy again like a script that we're going to use. So this is essentially like a querying structure for the API of Notion. So this is the way that you have to query their databases. So let's just expand it. So basically this is a JSON which is structured, and the first thing is filter, and inside the filter it's basically shows which condition is going to use. So in this case it's going to use or condition, and what we're going to check the property which is going to be named question, which is very important that this would be exactly the same as the name of the table, and contains a keyword or a property tags, which is again named exactly the same as our base, and it contains tag, and then it sorts by the latest record. So for example, you have hundreds of records, it's going to show the ones that are most relevant to the keyword and those that are basically the newest. Yeah. So now I can exit it out, and I need to add a placeholder definitions so AI agent would know what to put inside this exact placeholder. So for this, what we're going to enter is keyword, and the description is going to be searches question of the record, use one keyword at a time, and then add another. This one is going to be tag. And now what we're going to have to enter in the description is options, colon, and then this is why we used that map function in the first place, because we will be inserting the tags. So, you know, use at least one of these tags or go over all of these tags. At least that's what the AI agent is going to be doing. So now we essentially have the AI agent with the ability to search the Notion database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. And as you remember, I have all of these, you know, mock questions or FAQs in the table. But for example, there is like a sales pitch question. So let me ask it, where can I find our latest sales pitches? And what it is going to do is basically going to, okay, so buffer memory is probably not set correctly. So define below, I'm going to define it as session ID. Is it enough to define it? The key to use store session ID in the memory. Let's check it out again. Let's save it. Let's ask, where can I find the latest sales pitches? And let's check what's going to output. So it returned us, you can find the latest sales pitches in our dedicated Google Slides. For more details, click the relevant record here. I click on it, and basically I'm being redirected exactly to the page where all of the links to the sales pitch decks are stored. So it's already, you know, returning the data that we need based on our questions, which is amazing. But to make it even better, now let's add the ability for the agent to go inside the page and retrieve the information that's inside. So for this, again, we're going to add another tool, which is going to be HTTP request tool. For the description, I'm going to again copy and paste it like so. So I'm going to show you real quick. So this is the description. Use this tool to retrieve Notion page content using the page ID. It is structured with question and answer format. You can filter query results by keyword and tag. Keyword and tag have an or relationship, not and. Again, so very similar to the previous one. For the method, we're gonna select get, and for the URL, we're gonna select api.notion.com/v1/blog/ and this is going to be the keyword that we're going to use, and /children. So again, we're going to set up the authentication. So credential type is going to be Notion API, select Notion account, and I think, yeah, we're not going to be sending body, headers, or parameters. So the only thing we need to set up is the placeholders. So set it up like so. So page ID, because again, in URL we have the page ID. And the description, let me write it out quickly. So it's going to be Notion page ID from search Notion database tool results. And then we kind of have to optimize the response. So select this one option, and basically what this is going to do is going to strip the request of unnecessary information that we don't need, for example, for the agent to fetch. So it's going to work a bit faster and it's going to be able to find the data that we actually need more accurately. So for example, once an HTTP request runs, for example, or this one didn't run, or this one, yeah, so this one ran. But so it returns as a response, and as you can see inside JSON there are results. So that's exactly what we're going to be looking for, and then we go into the results itself and look for specific parameters. So let's go back here and let's configure the the request. So again, for optimized response, selected. The expected response type is JSON. For the field containing data, so that's where we enter results, because that's where the main details are. For the fields, include only selected fields. And now, again, I'm gonna paste all of the fields that I selected, but these are gonna be the fields. So we're gonna need ID, we're gonna need type, paragraph.text, heading1.text, link preview.url, heading2.text, heading3.text, bulleted list item.text, numbered list item.text, to do.text, and children. So basically, this is just, parameters that hold the values of your Notion page. So for example, if we go here, this is heading 1. So this would be the heading _1.text. So that's why we're putting these fields here. On the other hand, you could leave it empty, or you can just select all, but that would probably reduce the accuracy of the AI agent. So now we have this like module or node configured. What we need to do is rename it. Of course, this is not a mandatory thing, but I just like to do this. Search inside database record, like so. Let's rename it and let's save it. So let's open the chat, and we have this last question: where can I find latest sales pitches? You can find latest sales pitches, and it redirected us to the Notion page. So first of all, for example, if you're unsure if you have sales pitches, you can ask, do we have latest sales pitches? So for example, if this, let's say, would be connected to Slack, you don't want to go into Notion, you can check it out, and okay, it says that we have latest sales pitches. Can you list out all of the sales pitches? And now essentially what it should do, it should go inside the page and list it out. Okay, but it didn't. So now this was the fault of my prompt. But let's maybe say, what are the links to the sales pitches inside? Let's see what this returns. Okay, so now you can see it went inside the page and it retrieved the links to the sales pitches. So essentially, there are two things. One thing, I probably wasn't clear enough the first time. So again, it takes some time to get used to talk with the AI agent. And another thing is that I need to maybe improve the prompt that I have. But for example, what it did, it opened the Notion database. Then it went, it scrolled through all of this. It returned only the answer that we, like the answer to the question we were asking. So it returned only about this. Then it went inside when we asked it, and it returned the links to the, let's say, pitch decks that we have. So for example, if we go again and I click on this, I can see that it is a working link, and it redirected us to the correct sales pitch deck. So essentially, you just built a Notion AI agent that can retrieve information just by talking to it. So, of course, this is, seems what we have like 11 questions, why should we bother building this? But imagine you have 100 questions or you have 200 questions. And then, inside each question and answer, you have more links inside or more information inside. And all of a sudden, this becomes useful, and this becomes something that can save your time. So I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit a like, hit a subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you ever want to work together or any other automation build, or you want to automate your business, there's a link in the description down below through where you can reach out. Also, there's a link where you can download all of this. I'm going to try to put a Gumroad link, or maybe I'm going to put a link to my Google Drive where you can download basically the template for the base and also the template for the AI agent. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.